All right, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, can you hear me now?
Okay, now I got you.
Okay, good. Oh my goodness. How you doing?
Hi, okay, how are you?
Good, good.
It's a couple of guys with white hair now, huh?
Hey, I'm staring at a picture of you
Oh, wow.
way back when.
Was that when I was sworn in as president or what?
It could
Hmm.
be.
Yeah,
I had done the 50th anniversary with pictures of all the presidents, and
Oh, okay.
I printed that out.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're recording this now. So I'm going to start by saying I'm sitting here with past President David Adelman, who was past president from 1985 to 1986. Thank you for agreeing to talk to me about your presidency and your relationship and activities with the state council.
Okay.
Thank you, by the way, for that disc. It was very helpful.
Oh, good. I'm glad it was because I hadn't looked at it in many years. So,
The disc I'm referring to, or CD or DVD, is a report about the origins and history of the state council. Some things
right.
that I had never heard of and was very, very valuable.
Okay. Terrific.
Uh, when you joined the state council, did you join as a staff member, a clinical person, a management? How did you start out?
I started out as a staff person. And as the years went by and I moved into management, obviously I stayed with the organization. And the organization grew. There are a few people that have passed on that were the people that stimulated me to join. Uh, One of those, as you remember, was Seymour Katz, and Seymour was the then director of pharmacy at Brookdale, and I had joined Brookdale as a staff pharmacist at the time. But Seymour saw in me the ability to be something more than just a staff pharmacist. So after a few years, he promoted me to a supervisory position. And I stayed probably at Brookdale for a total of 5 years before taking an assistant director of pharmacy position at Kingsbrook, where at the time I worked with Bruce Kay and stayed with Bruce Kay for about 5 years as his assistant, and then he moved on to Long Island Jewish, and I stayed on as the director of pharmacy at that time.
Was there any other past presidents or members of the council that also mentored you to move on and advance, other than Seymour?
Uh, Seymour was my major stimulus. He was the one that convinced me, and believe it or not, and I'm chuckling because his wife, may she rest in peace, she was somebody that was promoting me to her husband because she saw things, I guess, in me that would help him along the way. So she had a lot to do with me joining the council and also to take additional responsibilities, as a pharmacist or a supervisor.
Yes, I remember her very well. Elizabeth.
Yes, Elizabeth, right.
Okay. Um, when you started on the state council's board of directors, what was it like? What was going on? And, you know, what activities did you work on?
Well, it's interesting you ask because that's almost 40 years ago, and so think back to that time period. It wasn't a lot. It was the major things that were going on had to do with the local organizations and the big meeting each year, which was the council's major meeting to bring everybody together. So it was during that time that I began getting more active in the educational area of the council, because although the Research and Education Foundation was on paper, it never, at the time when I was active, never really took effect. And so for years, the council went along with the Research and Education Foundation, not really doing anything. And so one of the things that I wanted to make my responsibility as I was moving up in the council was, if I had the opportunity, was to actually make the Research and Education Foundation a major portion of what we did. And that was probably the biggest event that I had as a council president, was to concentrate on developing the Research and Education Foundation. And just to mention, I was fortunate enough to have a relationship with executives with Pfizer and Merck Sharp and Dome, who were interested in getting involved with the council, because, as you probably remember, there was a industrial relations committee portion of the council. And the industrial relations committee portion really didn't do much. They sponsored, some events, I guess, at the council meeting, but we didn't want them to get too involved at the time, because there's always a fear that the drug companies would take over the organization, and it would not be a pharmacist organization. It would wind up being more of an industry organization. So the Industrial Relations Committee had a few executives on it that I was friendly with. So when I was putting together the Research and Education Foundation to be something more than just a name on a piece of paper, I went to them and asked them if they would sponsor some sort of award, and they did. And so the first two awards that came out of the Research and Education Foundation was a Pfizer award and a Merck Sharp and Dome award. And so that sort of began the impetus to get more individuals involved in research and education, who were staff pharmacists, people doing research projects, whether they were involved in school or whether they were doing things in their pharmacies. And so it stimulated more interest in the council. And so that was my goal, was to see if I can stimulate that. And so I started to look for individuals who would be able to help out. And I think you know one person, Joe Meschel. Joe agreed to join me in this plight of bringing people together to form some sort of board who would evaluate research projects. And so he joined me, and then individuals like John Manzo came along, and John, of course, was a he worked for me at Kingsbrook for a while because when he transitioned from the Bronx. He came to Brooklyn, and he worked for me at Kingsbrook for a while. And so I got him interested in working on the council, and of course he was very interested in the research and education of the various students. So that's how it began. And of course, you're only there a year, so I have to turn it over to the next president and so on and so forth. So the only thing you can hope for is that it grows. And fortunately, I think it has grown today to be a major portion of what the council
Oh,
does,
absolutely.
and especially at the annual meeting when it awards all kinds of research projects, and awards with those research projects.
Yes, it
So
does.
it was a way to get industry really involved from the educational standpoint rather than the financial standpoint, which of course they're interested in selling product, but this gave them another avenue of becoming a key portion of what we did on the council.
Okay. Um, the
So
council,
if you ask me anything else we did, it's hard to remember for 40
well,
years.
we'll see. What I have one question. When you were doing the video for the 35th DVD,
Yeah.
who was the person turning the pages?
Who was the person turning the pages?
All we see is his hands.
It was probably John Manzo,
Okay. All right.
because
Uh,
that disc was given to me by John Manzo.
yes,
You know,
he was the chair of the assembly committee at that point.
right. So actually, he gave me the disc, and I've been holding on to it ever since. He said, "Keep it," and we never knew whether we would get to give it to somebody like you at this point, but I'm sure it's in good hands.
I've watched it a couple of times already, and I'm getting notes from it to possibly put into some type of um, PowerPoint.
Okay. All right, great.
All right, so going back to my questions.
Yes.
Uh, you've answered a couple of them as you've gone on. Challenges you've talked about. Has the council always been an advocate for the practice of pharmacy? Do you remember
Yeah.
when it was formalized?
Well, I joined it after it was in effect for a while, and the people that, of course, were involved and really started it up was Kurt Kleinman, and a lot of it was done by Kurt Kleinman, and then Bernie Mell took a major portion of it in its development. But those were the two key people when I started. And then Seymour Katz began, because of his interest in education and stuff, like education, he was another key factor in the formation of the council and in the early years.
Okay. Membership has always been a problem, going
Right.
back to some of the early presidents. Do you remember what members wanted during your presidency?
What they wanted. No, I can't remember if there was anything specific that they wanted, but it's always, like you said, always been an issue to attract membership. And I don't remember if there was anything specific that people said they wanted. Uh, so I really don't remember anything.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
When you were on the board, how often did they meet? And was it formalized and professional, or was it more of a camaraderie?
No, it was run professionally. Uh, we met usually on a monthly basis, and we'd all get together usually at one of the sites. So if it was me, it would be at Kingsbrook, or it would be in Manhattan at a site. But we always had a formalized kind of meeting. It wasn't haphazard. There was a structured meeting. There was a list of discussions that we went through, and it's interesting because I don't remember if there was any minutes ever taken. Now that you ask, I don't remember if there were minutes. Did you find anything like that?
I haven't seen any minutes per se, but that would probably be, the secretary of the executive secretary or executive director and
Oh, yeah,
people
she may
there
have. Okay,
that they have minutes. But yeah, they do keep minutes. It's probably online now.
okay, okay.
All right.
So I personally don't remember, but I'm sure there was somebody that was in charge of doing the minutes, but it was formalized meetings. It
Okay.
wasn't just haphazard.
And you said you met monthly, and was that again, and just to be sure, council versus city society? I know the city society met monthly.
Yes, yes.
Council usually,
The city society had its own
okay,
meetings. Okay, but the
okay,
council also had its
right,
meetings.
okay. All right. Some of the changing dynamics. My
Yeah,
graduating class had 5 women out of 55 graduating pharmacists.
right.
If we look at the classes today, it's more like 95% women, 5% men. Did that change in the council?
Uh, it changed drastically. Uh, at the time that I saw it, or the time that I had it, we had only one or two women sitting on the board. And as time went on, and obviously that was indicative of what the practice was like. I don't have to tell you, our practice also during those time periods were primarily male practices. It became, the more I saw that we became clinically oriented, or there was more clinical type of activities that seemed to stimulate female activities. So women became interested. I think it looked like to me, once we started to do more research and education, then more women took a active role in activities. And I think that's what happened with the profession itself as well.
Okay. Was there
And I think
any,
that I think the council was a microcosm of what was happening in pharmacy anyway, because as institutional pharmacy was changing, the council activities and the board was changing along with it. So I think you were starting to see more women. And you know, it's interesting because most of the women were from upstate New York rather than downstate. So I saw, you know, people that came on the board and were active were primarily upstate females. Very few downstate females, except if you had a area like the Bronx, where you had Kurt Kleinman, and then he had one or two females that worked for him that became active on the council. And so eventually one or two of them wound up on the board as well.
okay. Was there ever any mishap or major issue when you were president, which would be useful to future presidents not to repeat?
I don't know. Fortunately, I don't remember any major mishaps. Let's see, does anything jump out?
One of the challenges you wrote in the 35th and the 50th was establishing the annual assembly in the Twin Towers and the Vista Hotel for the 35th year celebration of the council.
Okay.
Would you ever have it in New York City again?
Uh,
From my discussions with people, no.
oh,
But
okay.
what's your opinion?
You know, it's interesting because even the Twin Towers aren't there anymore.
Yeah,
So,
but
uh, personally, I was against having it in the Twin Towers. They thought it would be a novel idea when they did have it in the Twin Towers. But I don't have to tell you how huge the floor plan was at the Twin Towers for the exhibits alone. Because what they did was they did the exhibits like almost on a balcony kind of thing, where you went up on an escalator to one of there was an in between floor, I guess, on the Twin Towers, and they
right,
put all the exhibits on that floor. You know, so I tend to think that you got to be careful based on the size of your exhibits, especially if you plan on doing it, because people will get lost and they'll disappear and they'll get frustrated trying to find things. So if you unless the exhibits are tremendous amount where people are always viewing things, to have it spread out like that, I think did did us wrong as far as an organization.
okay,
So based on that, I certainly wouldn't have it in New York City.
yeah,
Uh, there's a lot of reasons not to have it in New York City, and obviously it's has to do with travel and has to do with location, has to do with costs. and what people will pay for room and board and all of that type of thing. So I think as a general rule, uh, since most of the people, I don't know what it is now, but most of the people that came to the council meetings came from downstate at that
Right,
time. And I don't know what it is now. I don't know if it's mostly downstate or mostly upstate, but when they came from downstate, I think people looked to get away from the city anyway. So they enjoyed going to the Catskills and getting away for 3, 4 days and change the environment. So I think it worked out well to be away from the city. So I don't know, based on what the population is that comes to the meetings, whether it would be better or worse
yeah. I
today.
just, I just remember comments of people saying everybody got to the city and then got lost because they went to shows
Yeah, of course that's going to
and
happen.
then, yeah, so, all right. Um, and we, okay, we actually were starting to talk about the annual assemblies. When do you, okay, when you first started with the council, the assemblies were as large as they were when you left the council? Or were they about the same? Did they always be that big?
They were about the same. One thing about the assembly, it seemed to attract a lot of people, and whether we lost a few from one meeting to the next or gained a few, it was difficult to tell. So it stayed about the same at that time. I don't know what's happening recently, but because I haven't attended many of the more recent events.
Yeah, yeah. What's interesting now is the assembly is also a residence spot where they have 100 to 200 residents and preceptors doing their annual rotation presentations. So they combine the two and it works out well because then they get to stay and see what the assembly is like as well.
Yeah, and that's good because again, that all stimulated from research and education, which started in its infancy as basically nothing more than a couple of awards. But with the residency programs going on, there was really nothing before. And the fact that you guys are doing it the way you're doing it now sort of creates the interest by the students to attend. The question is, are they staying? After they graduate, are they still staying with the council?
And that's my next question, which is the generational changes.
Oh, okay.
Do you feel new members, like the millennials, will be as loyal to the council as the seniors were? There is much more competition between organizations now.
Yeah, I think my personal feeling about this has to do with the times we live in and the pressures that are on individuals, whether it's financial pressures or whether it's competition or what's going on in people's lives. I My personal feeling is unless there's something so dramatic at any particular meeting, it's going to prevent people from coming back on a regular basis. So, for instance, you see things that are going on in the tech industry. Okay, all of a sudden now there's a rebirth of interest in tech because of AI, and digital and all of that kind of stuff. So all of a sudden there's a stimulating factor that's bringing all of these people back to go to the conventions that they have, to do nothing that is is maybe of interest now, but will be in the near future. And so what they do is they're going back and seeing what's out there and what's new. I don't know what we have in the profession now to stimulate something new for people to come to. I mean, if it's the same routine of it's the residency program and, we're getting together and, once a year kind of thing, you can't expect to stimulate people. There's got to be something out there that brings them in to get them interested in coming to your meeting and not somebody else's. And especially today, where they're worried about, right now, they're worried about the economy and they're worried about what they're paying and, how much money they're making and, they're going to make more money. And is there anything in the programs that are going to stimulate, them to be selected as a candidate because they have something different than the guy next to them? So I think there's got to be something that stimulates the group to want to continue to come to the meetings. So
Okay.
that's my feeling. So if there's AI or somebody's doing stuff with digital or AI in our field, then that's somebody to bring in and let them talk and let people listen to how it's going to affect our profession.
Okay. Do you have anything else that you feel would be of use or important to the future presidents of the state council?
Uh, Tough. It's the problem that we've always had is stimulating young people to want to be coming to these meetings, other than making making them residents and having them go for residency programs. Uh, the key to getting people to come out and be part of the organization, I think, is to give them something new, you know. So I would suggest that we find a way to stimulate the profession the way the technology is stimulating their profession, and to get more involved. There's no reason why AI or digital shouldn't be used in pharmacy as well. We have to get people who are partaking in that area to come and to be able to talk and lecture and stimulate interest, because you need something to move people. And if you don't have that, we're going to lose them.
Okay. Thank you so much.